What's up, y'all? This is All Gas, No Trash. My name's Adam, and welcome back to the program, and welcome to a brand new episode. We are here in discussion of a band named The Rose Hips that is a project currently based out of Los Angeles, and I'm going to share what information there is available about the band and also some songs that we'll be checking out from their EP that came out last week, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the band itself or what little is known about them. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do that with the next segment. I'm going to do my best attempt at saying the band members' names. We have Michael Marguet. I imagine it sounds French, so maybe you say it that way, or maybe it's Michael Marguet and Dane Schumacher, or maybe it's Shoemaker. I have no idea, but if I mispronounced your name, I apologize. Nonetheless, at this moment, there's not a whole lot available about this band as far as information goes. I've tried looking up to see if there's blogs or anything like that. The most I could find was this piece or blog that Mix It All Up had written about the single, which was called Spacey, which is the track that we're going to be checking out. That was the way I actually discovered their music, was through that single. But, as I was saying before, there's not a whole lot available about the band other than their names. There's only 19 posts on their Instagram profile. I don't know what their follower count is on Instagram at this moment. I think it was like 8,000 when I started following them last week or the week before. And the way that I found them was actually through rabbit holing on Instagram. I found this method that just helps with me discovering new music pretty quickly, I would say. It's been really helpful. And the song that I had come across was actually Spacey, which is probably their most popular song. I think it's got 1 million streams by this point. Maybe they got featured on some TikTok reel, or maybe they caught some wind on that platform or Instagram. I'm not really sure exactly how it happened, but it is a really catchy tune, and I'm very keen to share it with you all. I'll have it in the podcast episode description and also the video version on YouTube for you to click on and check out as we get closer to that. I would say probably the more interesting bit that I've been able to find about them is that their producer is somebody named Sam Cohen. And from what I've been able to find online about him, it appears that he is a producer that has worked with the likes of Shakira, Nora Jones, Joseph Arthur, and Bob Weir. Along with that, I'm not exactly sure if he is like a founding member of Ista. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But it's a band that I've seen a couple times. I've seen their name several times, particularly at this place called the Airliner for some kind of event that Make Out Music and KCRW had collaboratively worked on together. But I've also seen their names on music subreddits. I'm not sure where else. Let's see. Just sometimes even on bills for shows and stuff. It's a band that I'm more or less familiar with, vaguely familiar with their music, but he seems to be a mixing engineer, recording engineer, co-producer, plays bass guitar along with programming for the band itself. But when I look at the picture, when I look at the picture of Ista, I can't really find him in the photo unless my eyes are deceiving me. But nonetheless, more or less, this is to say that Sam Cohen is a, I guess, pivotal part of the band to the Rose Hips. As I said before, he's been involved with other projects, Ista, and also I guess he was in a band called Apollo Sunshine previously. I think he's released solo music on his own part. But here's also a little bit of, let me see if I can pull it up real quickly. There was this website that he had which shares all his credits, like co-producing credits, co-writing credits. So he's worked with Kevin Morby, Curtis Harding, Rhett Miller, Emily King, Easta, of course, as producer, mixer, multi-instrumentalist, engineer, co-writer. There's also Benjamin Booker, The Nude Party. So this guy has certainly made his rounds in terms of music. So maybe it's just, his time. His time has come around to helping out a new face or a new band in music, especially in the folk pop or folk rock space, which is probably something I should have mentioned earlier. But yeah, I mean, this band I think is really interesting because what little information I know about folk music in Los Angeles is somewhat limited. And I know there are spaces that host that music specifically, but I am particularly limited in terms of my knowledge. I know at one point Jess Williamson was kind of a fixture in that space, but it seems like she's moved back to Texas. Haley Davis also is another artist who got some highlights on Rolling Stone magazine, being mentioned on their top 25 new artists to look into or something along those lines. I'm sure you can look it up on her profile. But, this band is a real standout in the genre from what information or knowledge I have about the space itself or the genre itself. I think it could be Los Angeles's answer, and not that they're in the same space in particular in terms of genre, but they do have a little bit of a Royal Otis feel, even though they're more on the folk rock, folk poppy side. It's just something about the vocal range of the vocalist that just kind of it is reminiscent of the vocalist for Royal Otis. I don't know his name, but anyways, there's not a whole lot to mention just yet. Hopefully more information will come out as they release new singles and stuff. But just to mention it real quickly, if I didn't already state it, they already have an EP that just released not too long ago. It's pretty lengthy for what an EP is. I mean, you would be under the impression if it was like a full-length album, but it came out on August 13th, which was just last week. It's a 7-track EP that's 24 minutes long, but we're only going to listen to 2 songs. I'll leave the rest to you for you to check out. But I just wanted this to be an introductory episode to the band, maybe share a little bit of information. Unfortunately, it is mainly on the fact that their producer has a little bit more of a background or resume or portfolio to share than the actual band members. But I don't really, I think as time progresses and more people catch on to their music, perhaps they'll be featured on some other blog or platform, Pigeons and Planes or Pitchfork, at some point, because I think the music is rather intriguing, and I hope you guys like it too. So without further ado, let's go ahead and listen to probably their most popular song at this moment. And there is something to mention at some point. I think it's probably going to be at the end of the episode. It's an announcement for a show date, so I'll give you all the details afterwards if anybody's keen from Los Angeles to check this band out. I'll go ahead and include that information after we listen to the 2 tracks, but let's go ahead and listen to Spacey from the Rose Hips off of their EP called Into the Garden. And just to clarify, this podcast does not actually play music. We merely discuss it, talk about it, all that stuff, give reactions and whatnot, but we leave the listening to you at your discretion. We leave the links for you to use for whatever platform you use. And with that said, let's go ahead and listen to Spacey from the Rose Hips. Welcome back. That was the Rose Hips with their track called Spacey. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. As for me, I think this is a great opening salvo to the EP itself and also for the band itself. I think the guitar tones that are used from the very beginning to around the chorus, I think it transitions over to more of like a twangy sliding guitar sound versus like the very beginning where it almost feels like the guitar is emanating from an old dusty amp and it just sounds really warm and nostalgic. I don't know how one accomplishes that in terms of like production or even yeah, I don't know how that's done in production, but however they tracked it, it's just I really loved it. It really I guess exemplifies the folk rockiness of the band. And on top of that, the way that the drums are tracked, the snare, oh my god, like it just sounds so crisp and nice, man. It's fucking great. But also in addition to that, I do have to say I don't know who is actually singing in this band, if it's either Dane or Michael, but whoever it is has an excellent voice, and for them to accomplish these really high notes, and not to say that guys have a limited range, but it is nice. It is nice when dudes can kind of hit some really high notes that I'm not sure if it's like a falsetto or whatever, but for them to just reach some really great ranges that perhaps you would expect more of like a female vocalist, it's pretty cool. So I do have to say that, and let's go ahead and get to the next track, which is the third listed song in the EP. It's called Make No Difference. Actually, if there is one other thing to state about this song, I don't know if I want to say it's comparable to anything, because I can't even think of bands that maybe are in the same space. I don't even think Ista is really that comparable to them, maybe like in the psychedelic sense, but not so much in the folk rock sense, if I do recall their music correctly. But I don't know, man. Maybe it's like kind of like the Kooks, or even a little bit of Blind Melon or Beck, like Loser. Something along those lines, maybe, but I'm sure there's probably a more accurate description that somebody could share in the comments, if you are familiar with the folk rock space and want to share your own opinion. But the thing that maybe just sticks out to me is the vocal range just feels reminiscent of the lead vocalist of Royal Otis, which is not a bad thing at all. If anything, it's a great thing. I've just tried to quantify this band for myself, but nonetheless, hopefully you found their music to be at least interesting or maybe even enjoyable just listening to this first track. But if you're not convinced, let's go ahead and get to the next one, which is called Makes No Difference. It's the third song in the EP from Into the Garden, if you want to check it out. And then shortly afterwards, we'll go ahead and talk about the show that's happening in Los Angeles. If you're keen to check out information about that particular show, I'll share it at the very end. Anyways, this is Makes No Sense from the Rose Hips. Going in. Welcome back. That was the Rose Hips with their track called Makes No Difference. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. As for me, I think it's yet another stellar track from the Rose Hips. I mean, I know there's a lot of psychedelic rock bands and stuff, but I just like the brand of the Rose Hips in its entirety to do this juggling act between the folk rock sound and also the psychedelic stuff, which again is not something that is profoundly groundbreaking or anything like that. I just like the flavor that they're offering. The licks that they do on the guitars are fucking sick, especially like the electric guitar, probably more so the electric guitar, but just like the tone that they use here, man, it's so it's so like nostalgic. It makes me think of like the 60s and bohemian attire that women would wear during that time. Dancing in fields, being in San Francisco. I forgot that famous park that everybody goes to, but it definitely makes you heavily reminiscent of older days in the past in the United States. But I like how the song also even has a breakdown moment where it really gets psychedelic and the guitar really reverberates and gets ultra spacey, and it's just a really enjoyable element that's included at the end of the song that kind of wraps everything up. But I think this band has something going on, which is the reason that I think I'm gonna end up going to see them at El Cid, which I do want to share quickly when that date is and all that stuff. So let me go ahead and share that in the next segment. While we're here, I'll go ahead and mention the other tour dates for the Into the Garden tour, but I'm going to start off with Los Angeles, which is on October 21st at the El Cid. It's just heading west down Sunset Boulevard at a flamenco tavern. Probably fits like 150 people, I think, to my knowledge. It's had a number of shows that have happened there. I saw Kira Mashita play there recently, and Magdalena Bay, I think, had their album release show at El Cid for Mercurial World. If you're a fan of Magdalena Bay, it's a really cool space. It's not particularly big, so you get to be all close and personal to the bands and stuff. But again, it is on Wednesday, October 21st at El Cid for anybody that's keen to check out this band in Los Angeles. We also have Thursday, October 15th, Chicago, Illinois, Scuba's Tavern, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And October 17th, Saturday, in New York, Nightclub 101. The Rose Hips are playing there as well. And lastly, October 22nd, which is a Thursday, they're playing in San Francisco at Café de Nord, which is immediately after the Los Angeles date. So they're playing back-to-back shows from Los Angeles to San Francisco. A little bit of a road trip, so to speak, a little bit of traveling on their end. But hopefully you can make it out, check out this band live, see what they're all about, support them in whatever way they can so that they can continue to make their own music and feel supported, and, the same spiel that I usually give at the very end of an episode. It's very difficult right now for bands to make ends meet, or not to say that they're poor or anything, but just to say that the expenses that go into making music and the expenses of traveling and all that stuff, we could stand to make it a little bit easier for them, is all I'm trying to say. But yeah, I think the Rose Hips are a really cool band, taking up space in the folk rock realm in Los Angeles. One that I'm not really familiar with, but I'll try to make a little bit of an effort to be familiar with the local scene here. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the band. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you all next time.